So, next naman po is yung bonus factors. So, dito sa bonus factors, ito yung bonus factors in credit evaluation. So, addition siya sa financial and non-financial factors, bonus factors such as collateral, business structure, and credit scorecard evaluations. So, yung mga yon can further refine credit risk assessments. So, number one is yung collateral and security. So, sinabi na nga kanina na yung collateral ay asset that the credit applicant pledges as a security for the credit granted. So, ito yung type of security na ina-offer significantly impact credit approval. So, yung types of collateral is number one is yung personal or real property. For example, is yung land, buildings, vehicles, and jewelries. So, second is yung surety or guarantee payment bond. So, ito po yung mga third-party guarantees repayment. So, third is yung joint several debtors or related affiliates. So, ito yung mga other entities or individuals that shares responsibility. So, form of business organization. So, ito po yung legal structure ng business na nag-influence its risk profile and credit worthiness. So, for example, dun is yung proprietorship. So, pag proprietorship ka, you have higher risk as a liability in personal. So, second is yung partnership. So, yung shared liability among partners. So, moderate risk lang siya. Pag corporation naman, limited liability. So, usually, nasa lower risk po siya. Okay, for financial factors of credit evaluation, so dito, analyzing ng financial statements involves identifying causes and effects behind financial trends. So, meron siyang key principles included po doon, yung financial performance is relative. So, sabihin sa number one, walang absolute measure yung company success. So, number 2 naman, ibig sabihin po niyan, yung mga issues may have single or multiple causes. So, number 3 naman, yung mga financial cures must be strategic. So, sa number 4, yung mga industry standards, nakakatulong sila para ma-detect yung mga financial warning signs. And sa number 5 naman po, yung mga solutions, kailangan well-planned siya and data-driven. And number 6, ibig sabihin po dyan, yung performance exceeding industry norms may signal in instability. So, the credit scorecard, a tool for credit evaluation. So, ano ba yung credit scorecard? So, structured rating system po siya na ginagamit para ma-assess at ma-evaluate yung credit applicants. So, especially for short to medium term credit applications. So, bakit ba tayo gumagamit ng credit scorecard? Una, para maiwasan po yung bias. Kailangan ma-ensure yung objectivity in evaluating credit applicants. The second is yung standardized assessment para makatulong in decision-making by assigning scores to various factors. At syempre, maiwasan din po yung risk. Ayan, para ma-identify po yung high-risk applicants ng mas maaga. And then also, para ma-improve yung credit evaluation efficiency. So, dito mas napapabilis po yung approval process. So, last one is para ma-build yung historical credit data. So, dito ma-create ng reliable database para sa future assessments. So, for specific needs for a credit scorecard. So, credit scorecard, it serves as a structured tool to evaluate credit applicants. So, kailangan complement siya, not replace, and human judgment. So, ito yung mga key objectives and consideration in credit decision making. So, sa number 1, ayan, ina-assess dito yung risk level. So, dinedetermine yung credit worthiness ng applicant. So, sa second, ina-evaluate dito yung security or collateral. Chine-check dito if the risk cover is adequate. So, number 3, gina-guide dito yung payment modes. So, dito tinutulungan yung structure appropriate repayment terms. Number 4, dinedetermine dito yung credit limits. So, in-establishes yung loan amount, and credit period. So number 5 naman, nagpro-provide ng auditing data. So it serves as a reference for financial reviews. So sa maintenance of the credit scorecard. So dito sa maintenance of the credit scorecard, kapag well-maintained yung credit scorecard mo, in-ensure niya na reliable, objective, and efficient yung credit evaluation. So here's how to properly manage, design, and assign scores to maintain its effectiveness. So, sino ba yung nagme-maintain ng credit scorecard? Yung internal management. So, dito yung na-handle to ng credit and collection team. O kaya, pwede rin yung external professionals, yung mga outsourced to credit experts for independent evaluation, or pwede namang hybrid approach siya. Mix siya ng internal and external audits para sa balance evaluations. So, second, involved din dito yung key departments, katulad ng sales. So, sa sales, in-ensure nila yung alignment ng business goals. Sa credit and collection, ayan, minamanage niya yung mga risk assessments. At sa treasury, in-ensure niya rin yung financial feasibility. Okay? So, another maintenance is yung pagkakaroon ng regular review and updates. Pagkakaroon ng review meetings para ma-refine at ma-improve yung scorecard. So, pwede rin siya mag-start as a pilot project and mag-expand gradually. Okay? So, next is in designing a credit scorecard system. So, yung credit scorecard, kailangan ma-identify niya yung both strengths and risks ng applicants. Ayan. So, this is a sample of the credit analysis questionnaires, maybe on the following aspects. Ayan. So, nandiyan sa step 1, yung field credit investigation. Siyempre, step 2, magkakaroon ng credit interview. I-verify niya yung details from the field investigation. And step 3, magkakaroon ng analysis and scoring. So, doon i-assign yung scores based on collected data. Aside from that, magkakaroon din ng key credit evaluation factors. So, yan. Katulad niyan, yung sample credit analysis questionnaires. Nandiyan yung personal background, yung credit and legal records, yung sales and credit performance, yung risk factors, payment history, collateral, and trade-off considerations. Okay, so tip lang, yung well-structured scorecard, kailangan allow for adjustments based on real-world credit behavior. Okay, for guides in assigning credit scorecard points, so yung scoring system, nag-assign siya ng numerical values to risk factors na nakakatulong para ma-determine yung credit worthiness. So, number 1, ayan. So, number 1 is collecting of random samples of customers' classes that the scorecard will distinguish. Like, for example, is yung good risk. Kapag good risk siya, so meron siyang high repayment ability and positive credit history. Kapag medium risk, some financial weaknesses but overall stable. Sa fair risk naman, inconsistent payments, moderate concerns. Pag bad risk, ayan, high default probability. So, ibig sabihin meron siyang weak financials. The second naman is determining which characteristics are consistently associated with one or the other class of accounts. Okay, for third, weighing the risk factors by assigning high points to those characteristics associated with the good accounts and low points to the negative characteristic associated with bad accounts. So, dito nagkakaroon ng score validation. So, kino-compare niya assigned scores with historical data of successful and defaulting accounts. So, number 4, comparing the points against independent samples of good and bad accounts to determine whether the score sustains the credit decision. So, ibig sabihin guys, yung credit scorecard must involve true continuous refinements. So, kailangan din yung credit scorecard ay nakafocus siya sa para ma-protect yung financial interest while maximizing good credit sales. And also, yung mga credit decision, kailangan nakabase siya sa data-backed scoring but also allow human discretion. Ayan. Sa advantages of credit scorecard, so yung credit scorecard, power tool siya sa credit evaluation. So, nag-o-offer siya ng multiple benefits. So, number 1, ayan, So number 1, hinahelp niya or tinutulungan niya businesses para ma-revise yung credit policies based on actual data rather than subjective judgment. So number 2 naman, pinoprovide niya yung structured. So number 2, pinoprovide niya structured decision-making process, making it easier para sa mga new credit officers para ma-assess yung application. So number 3 naman, tinutulungan niya yung pre-screening na applicants. Mas minimize niya yung need for extensive field investigations. And then number 4, dito, ibig sabihin, ina-allow niya yung tracking ng new accounts para ma-identify yung potential risk early. Okay, so ito po yung sample of credit scorecard for individual with capacity bias. Yan. Ito naman yung credit scorecard for individual with character attribute bias. Okay, next is interpreting or understanding the credit score. Okay? While credit scores, nagpo-provide siya ng structured evaluation, so they are not a definitive decision-making tool. So, meron dito mga keys na kailangan i-consider. So, for adapting, amending the credit scorecard, so yung credit scorecard, kailangan flexible siya para mapananatiling relevant. So, magkakaroon ng regular reviews para ma-ensure na adapting siya sa changing economic, social, and political risks. So, ito yung mga pertinent factors na kailangan i-consider. So, yan. Number 1 is how many copies must it be. So, for example, 1 is for credit approval records, yung isa for sales loan files, yung isa for credit risk risk monitoring. So, second is, will it be the supporting document for the credit approval or denial? So, andun yung question na kung ito ba yung magiging official reference in decision making. So, number 3, will it be filed with the sales or loan or credit documents? So, dito, should it be filed with loan or sales documents ba? So, number 4, ayan. So, nandiyan yung question na yung information ba ay kailangan digitize for future reference. So, sa number 5 naman, dyan papasok yung question na kung sino yung mag-update ng credit database after processing. Okay, for the credit equation, the factors of a credit decision is judged mentally and pragmatically rather than mathematically. So, dito sa credit equation, ito yung mix of judgment and analysis. Hindi lang to basta-basta mathematical formula. So, ito yung one rating used by some of our clients. Okay. So, dito, ayan, on the presumption that normal transactions and the same conditions apply to the credit risk of a creditor, the credit equation may be as follows. So, ano ba yung good credit risk? So, typically, it balances 4 key factors, yung character, capacity, capital, at condition. So, on total nun is magkakaroon siya ng good credit risk. Sabi dito, if however, any of the basis of credit factors is impaired but not totally absent, the nature of the credit risk involved may be as follows. So, ayan. Meron siyang fair risk. Ayan, kapag mayroong character, capacity, plus insufficient capital, so fair risk siya. So, another one is character, capital is insufficient capacity. So, meron naman siyang doubtful risk kapag capacity, capital, plus impaired character. So, number 4 is limited risk naman kapag character, capacity, minus capital. So, sa number 5 is yung capacity plus capital minus character, total is dangerous risk. So, number 6 naman, character plus capital minus capacity, marginal risk. Meron naman siyang poor risk kapag capital. Pag wala siyang capital, wala rin siyang character, wala rin siyang capacity. So, sa number 8, very bad risk siya kapag yung character minus capacity minus capital. So, fraudulent risk naman kapag capacity minus character minus capital. Okay. So, next is whereabout or yung skip tracing. So, yung skip tracing, complex siya pero strategic process na kinakailangan ng patience, persistence, and resourcefulness. So, often, kadalasan ginagamit siya ng mga debtors disappear without leaving a forwarding address. So, ito yung mga general steps for whereabouts or skip tracing. So, sa number 1, ayan, ibig sabihin dyan, hindi natin kailangan mag-waste ng time on routine tracing without validation. So, sa second, kailangan natin mag-focus on verified and relevant information first. So, sa number 3, kailangan i-adjust yung approach based on available data. So, sa number 4 naman, yung inquiries, kailangan magsimula siya with contacts most likely to yield results. So, sa number 5, ayan. Sa number 5, dito natin tinitimbang yung cost. So, skip tracing can be expensive. So, kailangan i-consider natin yung recovery justifies the expense. So, ito po yung mga kinds of skips. Okay? So, sa kinds of skip, ito yung mga debtors na biglang nawawala. So, ito yung mga tactics of whereabout skip tracing. So, number 1 is yung artful deception. So, dito involves yung paggamit ng subterfuge para ma-track down yung debtors na intentionally na tumatakas sa kanilang creditors. So, kadalasan, kailangan nito para sa pag-deal ng fraudulent debtors or yung mga credit criminals who actively cover their tracks. Okay? So, some proven successful gags and gimmicks are, so, number 1 is yung taxi, jeepney, or truck driver. So, it claims to have found the debtor's lost wallet. So, second is yung insurance adjuster and investigator checking on an application for group health or educational plan. So, dito nagpe-pretend na bine-verify daw nila yung kanilang insurance application. So, sa number 3 naman, dito yung HR personnel. So, nag-a-act siya as recruiter na humahanap ng mga job applicants. So, sa number 4 is yung old friend or former co-worker. Halimbawa, nagpe-pretend siya na kilala niya daw yung debtors from the past. So, sa number 5 is yung debt payer. So, kini-claims niya na may utang siyang pera sa debtor and gusto niya ma-settle ito. So, number 6 naman is yung a door-to-door delivery man who has a letter package and the like for this gift from the province or abroad. So, halimbawa dyan is yung delivery man, sinasabi niya na mayroong package or letter from the debtor. Yan, sa number 9 naman is yung surveyor or researcher. Yan, nagkakandak siya ng community survey para mag-gather ng information. And then, last one is yung talent scout. Ayan, nagpe-pretend siya na nag-scouting siya ng participants para sa TV or radio show. So, ito naman po yung dangers of gimmicking and subterfuge. Ayan. So, possible na maging effective yung deception, pero it comes with risk. So, meron silang misinterpretation can lead to legal consequences. So, sa unreliable results naman, ayan, dyan papasok yung una is yung loss of trust. Kapag yung deception ay na-discover, so yung mga informants, maaaring mag-refuse sila na tumulong. So, sa legal risk naman, halimbawa yung deception might locate a debtor but does not guarantee payment. Ayan. Where to look for skips. Okay, so, kapag nagkakandak tayo ng skip tracing, yung credit application and account records, ang first sources ng information. So, ina-analyze dito yung mga documents carefully and pwede siya makapag-provide ng initial leads. So, ito yung mga best source ng whereabouts informations. So, sa primary sources, ito yung mga best sources ng whereabouts information. So, ayan, ito yung mga sa primary source, nandiyan yung place of employment. Okay, so dito yung current employer details from the credit application, yung previous employers. Okay, so ito yung pwede magkaroon sila ng forwarding address or new contact details. So, sa trade and personal references, so yung mga friends or associate ay listed sa application. Sa neighbors, maaaring alam din nila kung saan lumipat ng ibang tirahan or location yung debtor. Sa landlord, maaaring may record sila ng past tenancy and forwarding address. So, sa credit bureau naman, pwede sila makapag-provide ng credit history at recent financial activity. Sa 7 is yung wife, legal, and common law ones. Ayan, maaring may contact pa sila doon sa debtor. Okay, for number 8 naman is yung children. Ayan, sometimes yung mga family members sila ay makakapagbigay ng leads. So, sa number 9 naman is relatives or in-laws. So, possible na may contact details sila or alam nila yung kung nasan yung debtors. So, sa number 10 is in neighborhood business or association. Ayan. So, possible din yung mga small businesses or community groups ay makatulong. So, number 11 is yung janitors, messengers. So, ayan. They can provide useful information from the debtors' past workplaces. So, okay. So, ito naman yung mga public and government records. So, sa number 12, yung telephone books or directories, town and barangay captains. Ayan, number 14 is former occupant in a rented dwelling or apartment. Number 15, armed forces or police records. And number 16, land transportation office for vehicle owning skips. Number 17, assessor's office. 18, register of deeds. 19, utility companies. For example, power, water, telephone, and home cable. Number 20 is occupation register, civil service commission's rolls of professionals. So number 21, registered mail records. 22, social professional, civic industry, and commercial associations. 23, sports club. 24 is newspaper, magazine articles, and the like. And number 25 is wanted section in newspapers. Okay, next is the property checking on debtors. So, bago tayo mag-pursue ng legal action, so importante muna ma-confirm whether the debtor has assets that can be seized. So, otherwise, yung collection effort ay magiging wasted lang or walang mapapala. Diba? Ito yung mga best places para ma-check for property ownership. Ayan, number 1 is yung sa assessor's office. This is for the lands and property tax records. Sa Register of Deeds naman or Land Registration Authority para verify yung kanilang land title. At number 3 is Land Transportation's Office or LTO for vehicle ownership records. And number 4 is Intellectual Property Rights Office. And 5 is Patents Office. Dito, chine-check natin yung valuable inventions na register under the debtor's name. So, number 6 is yung stockbrokers. Kung may investments ba yung debtor sa stocks. So, number 7 is yung sports or leisure clubs. So, dito yung membership in exclusive clubs may indicate financial stability. Number 8, classified advertisements. So, like for example, yung debtor is nagsisell or nagbebenta ng properties na maaaring nakalista doon. So, sa number 9 is real estate brokers. So, they may have handled transactions involving the debtor's property. So, number 10 is National Library or Intellectual Property Office. So, this is for copyrights and patents. Number 11 is Barangay Records for copyrights. And number 12 is Intellectual Property Office. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you.